The legal battle of the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and his wife Zinat over some infractions against the state has lasted for about 6 years. These years have had the tones of interpretation of the issues he's being tried for, depending on who you speak to. Today on Special Report, we examine the trial of Sheikh El-Zakzaky leading up to his eventual acquittal by the court. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo.
The alleged killing of hundreds of Shia Muslims of the Islamic movement in Nigeria by the officers of the Nigerian army from December 12 to December 14, 2015 over an alleged attack on the convoy of the military high command led to mass burial of several members of the IMN. The army says its confrontation with the Shia sect who erected a makeshift roadblock near a mosque follows an alleged assassination attempt on the then Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, whose convoy was traveling through the area. In the same month, the home of the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky in Zaria, Kaduna State, was raided. An arrest was made on the prominent Shia cleric and his wife Zinat, while the Kaduna State government sets up a judicial commission of inquiry into the matter.
Invasion of the private residence of the Malam occurred in Zaria, in Kaduna State. The killing of his 3 children occurred in Zaria, in Kaduna State. The destruction of his houses and his properties occurred in Zaria, in Kaduna State. The violations relating to these things I have enumerated occurred in Kaduna State. And the law is that you must file fundamental rights proceedings where the violation occurred. 2 things arise from my law's judgment. The first is that if you look at the matter that Justice Kolawole decided, there were 7 reliefs, but in truth, there was only 1 relief. And that relief is that the applicant has been held for more than 24 hours by the Department of State Security Services and the police without being charged to court. So the whole matter that was litigated in Abuja relates to the detention only of the sheikh by the Department of State Services for over a year without being taken to court.
The proceeding here is asking for damages over houses or properties to have been destroyed. We are now saying this court was not empowered by the Constitution to try this kind of a case. This court, by virtue of Section 251, has enumerated jurisdictions. Those things the court can sit on, they are well defined. This issue of murder as well as destruction of properties are not part of those things that this honorable court can try.
Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky faced an 8-count charge including culpable homicide, unlawful assembly, and disturbance of public peace amongst other charges.
Since the respondents in the matter before him did not deny that they had destroyed the house of the sheikh, that it will not be right for him to just order his immediate release so that and then he becomes homeless. It was on the basis of that he decided that he made what I call a consequential order, that the State Security Service and the Attorney General of the Federation should provide an accommodation for him pending the time he sorts out himself with the suit pending before this court.
Zakzaky! Freedom! Zakzaky! Freedom!
The 2 events sparked regular massive protests by members of the IMN, especially in the nation's capital Abuja, Kaduna and Kano states, despite a ban on the group's activity.
Our honorable leader and father, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, should be released unconditionally, without any condition. He should be released immediately. Okay, immediately and unconditionally. This is one. Secondly, we demand that the sitting and the probing should also be done publicly. So this is our second demand. Because when they asked that, when they told us that this will be, we told them that they should talk to our leader because he's alive, he's not dead. So we should not speak on his behalf. We don't need any intermediary between us and him. So after they agreed, they said that, okay, but this is going to be done for security reason. This is going to be done secretly. Then we said that we have started sensing the lack of justice. This will not be fair and just to us. Of course, we don't expect any fairness and justice from them. But even despite that, we demand that this should be done publicly because the crime was committed to us publicly. So the probing and the panel inquiry should be carried out. The sitting with our leader should be done publicly.
In October of the same year, some members protested against the secret testimony and freedom for their leaders.
The judicial arm of government has done their best, and we thank them for that. So the rationale behind this protest, daily protest, is to tell the government to comply with the court order, to comply under must, and we are not begging them in any way. We are telling them that they must, under must, comply. Sometimes they lie shamelessly, telling the whole world that they have made an appeal. Making an appeal does not mean you will not comply with the early court order. You must comply. Even I, who is a layman, who is not a lawyer, I know the case of Ojukuba's Lagos State government. When they refused to comply and they went on appeal, the government said, the court at that time said, go and comply with the court order first. They should release Malam Zegzeki unconditionally. If they want to go on appeal, they should go on appeal.
The courts are established to protect our laws and our people under law. When a man goes to court, gets an order, a responsible government does what? It obeys it. When you keep a fellow Nigerian citizen for 485 days in detention without telling us what he has done, without giving him freedom, you violate the Constitution. You violate your office, you violate Nigerians. An injustice against one is an injustice against everybody. I, the Jadeyoju, do not see the reason why Sheikh Zakzaki and his wife will be shot, will be detained for 484 days without trial. Even if somebody committed murder, such a person should have his day in court. Why will they not take Sheikh Zakzaki to court? Why? What is his crime? As Nigerian and as our stakeholders in the Nigerian project, I cannot fathom why.
As they gathered at the Unity Fountain in Abuja, they were chased away by the police. Not backing down on their demands, the police resorted to the use of anti-protest weapons to disperse the protesters.
My mom told me about it. I'm very careful. But you know this thing can smell everywhere.
Yeah.
In June 2019, the legal team of Sheikh Ibrahim Elzazaki drafted an application to the Kaduna State High Court for his release on health grounds so the cleric and his wife could seek medical attention.
The ruling came up today, and the Honorable Court, my Lord Justice Darius, graciously agreed with Mr. Femi Falana, SN, and the various medical reports that were attached to the applications. There were 8 different medical reports that showed clearly that the applicants are in dire need of urgent medical treatment abroad. We were seeking, as submitted by Mr. Falana on the 29th of June, that the applicants require immediate urgent interventional medical treatment abroad, specifically at the Mental Hospital, New Delhi, India. And the court agreed that Malam and his wife should be allowed that immediate interventional medical treatments that were sought for, and that it should be immediate, but with the supervision of the state. It's not a bail application, as has been wrongly reported in some news media. It was an application to save the life of the applicants, Malam Ibrahim Elzazaki and his wife.
It has had us. It has had the arguments of counsel, and it has ruled. We are bound by the court, the ruling of this honorable court. All the parties are bound by the ruling of the court. The court said when he was effectively discharged by the hospital that that he referred to Medenta Hospital in India. So as soon as he's discharged from the hospital, he returns to the country to continue his trial.
Barely 24 hours after arriving in India for medical treatment, El-Zazaki said he did not trust the doctors assigned to treat him in India, with claims that the Nigerian government frustrated efforts to get his preferred doctors to attend to him and his wife Zinat.
I was just being told that some ulama, Shia ulama, about 5 of them came. They wanted to see me and begged me, solicited myself not to go out of India. That the treatment should be in India, because it's their pride that I should be treated here in India. I wouldn't mind being treated in India. And in fact, it was my choice.
Yes.
So, so I said, but I also should have the choice of hospital. If I choose this one, I'm not satisfied. I should be allowed to choose another.
By July 2019, the federal government officially proscribed the Islamic movement in Nigeria.
Coming to the National Assembly, when I saw people gathering, I was wondering why. But all of a sudden, I see these protesters, Zakzakis, people that are protesting in favor of Zakzakis, shouting that they should free Zakzaki, they should free Zakzakis. Reaching to the National Assembly gate, they were a kind of, indeed, they were not holding anything harmful, but they were violent. They begin to stone, they pick stones and begin to stone the policemen that were there. All the security agents that were in National Assembly gate, they were stoning them. So, and the security locked the gate. That is the policemen and other security agencies locked the gate and stood behind the gate. So them they were stoning, so the security give them a leeching chance. So they forced themselves, breaking, vandalizing a lot of vehicles, injured sort of the drivers and the occupants inside the vehicles that were coming in the National Assembly. Even setting some vehicle ablaze. A lot of vehicles have been burned. As you can see now, you can see fire service, now they are operating. But glory be to God, police have now reinforced and come back and send them away. Now, in fact, there is peace now.
The leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Ibrahim El-Zazaki, and his wife Zinat were, however, arrested by operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS, on arrival in Nigeria. Each trial date of the leader of the movement led to the crippling of economic activities.
Trial commenced today, and 2 witnesses were taken. And so the trial will continue tomorrow. The proceedings will continue tomorrow. But we would like to appeal to the authorities in Kaduna State, both the government and the security forces, that since our clients are not being brought to court on earth ground, we don't really need to block all roads leading to the court so that people can move and go about their normal business. Witnesses have been discharged, so they will continue tomorrow. Well, I think they still have about 16. Yeah.
16 outstanding.
Yeah, about 16 outstanding.
Okay, the 2 witnesses now.
They are military officers. They are military officers. No, they gave evidence about the operation of the military operation that lasted between the 12th and the 14th of December 2015, and the role played by each of them. We just want to see how far we can go tomorrow. The prosecution is not likely to close the case tomorrow. So we'll then take other days so that we can speedily, have this matter concluded, because the court has granted accelerated land.
Year after year, members of the movement continue with protests to press home their demands for justice and the release of their leader. In November 2020, his trial resumed at the Federal High Court, Kaduna, with heavy presence of security operatives, land and airtight security. The legal team of the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, otherwise known as Shiites, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zazaki filed a motion asking the High Court sitting in Kaduna to quash all charges against him. In a motion filed by the IMN lead counsel Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, and served on the Director of Public Prosecutions, Ministry of Justice of Kaduna State, he asked the court to dismiss the case after the state's failure to disclose the offenses preferred against his client.
We don't know whether they are going to change their minds. But as far as we are concerned, we are demanding for justice for our clients, that the orders of court for their release and provision of housing for them ought to be obeyed before any further step is taken. Because the rule of law cannot be cowed as it is being done now. Well, it is totally uncalled for, because this is a public trial and there can be no basis for the militarization we have found in court, and we are going to take it up appropriately.
We're in court this morning to receive the ruling for our application, which we filed earlier, asking the court to quash the charges against Malam Zakzaki and the wife, Malam Mazina Ibrahim Zakzaki. The judge today decided that that because of their precarious health condition, that their presence should be excused from further proceedings until it is inevitable that they should be in court. And the court agreed, and on two grounds, the court agreed. First, that their health condition is precarious, so they should not come to court for the trial and the taking of witnesses, which the case has been adjourned for. The court also agreed that because their presence also heightens security situations in the city, in the metropolis, Kaduna metropolis. So on those two grounds, the court agreed that their presence should be dispensed with for now. So the matter will be coming up for trial proper. The state will be required. They have 8 witnesses listed, so the court has given them 2 clear days, 18th and 19th. But the court never, I emphatically restate, that the court never gave a ruling on our application. The court only said that the application can be reserved till the end of the proceeding.
6 years after their arrest and detention, Justice Gideon Kurada of the Kaduna State High Court discharged and acquitted the Shiite leader, El-Zazaki, and his wife Zinat.
The court has indeed upheld our no-case submission. The court found, and quite rightly, that the charges that were filed in the year 2018, pursuant to a penal law enacted by the Kaduna State government in 2017 over offences that were allegedly committed in the year 2015 is ab initio incompetent. The court ruled that the charge ought not to be in the first place. You cannot arraign a man for an offence that was allegedly committed, as at the time the said crime was not an offence. And the court was very emphatic in that yes, the Kaduna State government has powers to enact laws, but they cannot enact laws to prosecute an offence retrospectively. On that first ground, the court held that that charge is incompetent. On another footing, and while looking at the no-case submission we filed in court, the court agreed with us that the trial is, after all, a charade. That the trial and the prosecution witnesses only came to court to tell stories that are at gross variance with the offences that were alleged in the said charges. The court agreed with us that Malam Zakzaki and his wife had committed no offence.
We have to appeal against this judgment to test it, because you cannot parade 15 witnesses, some of whom are people that are there on ground and are witnesses to the events of the 12th of December 2015, some of whom are soldiers, those that acted there, came before the court, left their commands and came and gave evidence and said, this is what happened, this is what we saw. I gave order for this the defendant to be arrested. The defendant were arrested, they were brought to me, and I handed them over to the DSS for investigation. And you are saying the evidence he gave is nothing. It doesn't have any evidential value. So the judge in his infinite wisdom has decided how he decided. It's the judicial system. We will respect the judicial system, we will respect his decision. But then the decision is not the final decision. The final decision rests to the appellate court, and we'll go to the appellate court and test it as soon as possible, as soon as the copy of the ruling is made available to us. What he did was to discharge the defendants. He didn't acquit them. The judicial process at this stage is not of acquittal, it's discharge. So we'll test it. Certainly we'll go on appeal against this ruling as soon as a copy of the judgment is made available to us. And I think it's ready. Tomorrow we'll pick it up and start the process. Certainly, by the order of the court, he said he discharged them. They are free, legally. But then, they are free, but legally, they are not free. They could still be prosecuted on different charges. They could still be prosecuted over this one if the appellate court agrees with our submission that the no case submission ought not to have been dismissed by the trial court.
The leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Ibrahim Elzazaki, and his wife have now been released from the Kaduna Correctional Center after they were acquitted and discharged by the Kaduna State High Court. Their lawyer, Femi Falana, said they have left Kaduna for an unknown destination.
They were released. Both Sheikh Ibrahim Elzazaki and his wife, Madam Zinat, were released, and they are currently enjoying their freedom. They have been released, contrary to expectations of many people, because many people have been calling me since yesterday, oh, are you sure they are going to be released? Would this government obey the order of the court? But I can say without any fear of contradiction that, they have been released. The authorities of the Correctional Service of Nigeria complied very promptly with the court order. And so I think it's a good development, having regards to the fact that since December 14, 2015, the couple had been detained initially by the State Security Service, and we were in court. And on December 2nd, 2016, the Federal High Court ordered their release and awarded damages of about 50 million naira to both of them. The federal government treated the orders of the court with contempt, absolute contempt. Of course, the Shiites mounted pressure on the government by protesting on the streets of Abuja. In the process, many of them were killed. And at the end of the day, the government felt the protests were becoming a source of embarrassment. And that was why the Kaduna State government decided to charge the couple with some, an 8-count, took them to court on an 8-count charge. But as I'm saying, by yesterday, the court ruled that there was no basis for them to have been put on trial. Hence, the court upheld our no-case submission. So as I said, they have been freed.
The Kaduna State government have filed new charges against the couple. Mr. Dari Bayero, the State Director of Public Prosecution, said they were not in agreement with the reasoning and conclusion of the High Court, adding that new charges will border on terrorism and treasonable felony.
Where all the evidence they paraded, the judge in his infinite wisdom said, we have not presented any case. That the evidence they give, it didn't happen the way they said it happened. Notwithstanding what you and I noticed, that the evidence did not link the defendant, Malam Zagzaki, with the offense we charged him with. We are happy, we are considering the judgment. Certainly there is need for us to appeal against this judgment. We have to appeal against this judgment.
Dari said they will soon issue an order for the rearrest of Elzazaki for him to answer to the charges.
And that's it on the program for this week. Thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo.